Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. My name is Carrie Hunter, and I'm the spiritual director of the center. And it's a pleasure to have you joining me today. If you do want to join us in person, just want to let you know that we are indeed open at our Cook Street Village facility, which is the Cook Street Village Activity Center. Sunday mornings, 10:30 for meditation, 11 for our service. And that's at 380 Cook Street. So we would be very happy to see you there. Meanwhile, um, about today and today's service. Every Monday, actually, I pull out my folder and look for the title of what my talk is going to be for the following Sunday. It's something where when I come up with the ideas for the talks, I just write them down and then sort of forget about them till the time comes. And I find that if I do that on Monday mornings, that the talk that I'm going to give starts percolating. Ideas come to me. There are things that I see that I might not otherwise notice that I can include in a talk. So when I pulled out my topic for this week on Monday, I found out it was, I hope you'll dance. And I looked at it and I thought, what? I didn't remember writing that down, first of all. And I thought, what am I going to do with that? I mean, that's not a subject that I'm really that interested in. And what's going to come to me? What kind of spiritual messages are in it? And I just thought, well, I'll just let it flow because it usually does. So each day I'd be doing my work and think, gosh, nothing has come up for me. Just don't know what it's all about. Anyway, fast forward to Saturday of this week, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I realized that I had not downloaded any material at all in my mind for this talk. I thought, that's really, really strange. Maybe I should create a new title, or maybe I should, do a different talk. But something in me said, no, you didn't choose the title chose you. And there has to be a reason for it. And I thought, well, I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't like to dance. I can't dance. I'm just, I never really learned how to dance very well. It's not something that I want to do. It would make me nervous. I'm fearful about it. And of course, therein, therein lies the topic. Therein lies the reason for my having to face that. So at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, I still had not come up with any information. And I was in such resistance that I decided to lie down and take a nap, which I just don't do. And so I napped for a half hour. But as I was kind of coming out of the dream state, waking up, I had all of these visions, all of these images. And I saw myself as a little 4-year-old who wanted to dance above all else, who loved to dance. Didn't have anybody really to teach me, but I would dance around the yard in the summertime. And I loved to twirl, as I called it. I was always twirling around in circles, and I often had the skin off my knees or off my nose from falls that I would take as I was attempting to pirouette. I didn't even know what that word meant at the time, and I certainly didn't know what ballet meant. A couple of years after that, we moved, and next door to us lived a ballet teacher. And I talked to her and I said that I really wanted to learn to dance. And so she said she would teach me for 25 cents an hour once a week. So I was enrolled in ballet lessons for 25 cents. Her name was Bobby. And she was very patient and very giving. And she told me that I had a lot of potential, that I could be a really good ballerina. She didn't say a great one, but I could be a good one, which really thrilled me because in my heart, I was a shy little thing, and I didn't know that I could ever reach out and do that sort of thing. Well, Bobby lasted for 2 years before she moved on, and this was in Calgary, and she suggested that I enroll in the Lillian Kazubo School of Dance, which was a wonderful academy that was in Northwest Calgary. That would mean 50 cents per lesson, and it would mean taking a bus or a couple of buses to get there. And for me, that was just out of the question at that time and at my young age. So it wasn't the end of dancing. I mean, I might have in my mind thought it was, except that I'd forgotten all about this. So moving along, the next image that I saw was in junior high school. I was in the 9th grade, and our teachers were teaching us to dance. And we had to learn to jive and to do the waltz. Well, my partner was somebody named Roly Link. Roland Link as an adult, but Roly Link to me then. And we jived to In the Mood by Glenn Miller. And it was such fun. I just really, really enjoyed it. And the interesting thing was, because it was in school and it was a school project, I didn't have to fuss over the fact that I was incredibly shy. And what the teachers were doing was they were preparing us for sock hops. I don't know if any of you remember those or were ever part of those, but basically we went into the auditorium, took off our shoes, and danced in our socks, except for me. Again, being really shy, being a wallflower, being very introverted. Uh, the thought of wondering whether or not any boy would ever ask me to dance was more than I could tolerate. So I was always the one behind a table serving punch or taking tickets at the door or doing some other work on the scene, and I didn't dance. By high school, I did have a boyfriend and we danced, and we enjoyed it. And when I got married, my husband and I took ballroom dance classes, and we went dancing wherever we could. And in those days, there weren't a lot of places that you could dance, but we really enjoyed it whenever we had the opportunity. And a couple of years after that, I had an injury. I had fallen down a flight of stairs on my buttocks, I guess, and had broken my tailbone. And my daughter and son-in-law to be were in Victoria at the time studying Chinese medicine. And I came out to see them, and I was really in a lot of pain, and my head was buzzing from the accident. And they told me about an osteopath that I should go to see here. And I went to see Michael, and he did a treatment which really, really helped me a lot. But as he was treating me, he said, "This body of yours just wants to dance. It longs to dance." I was kind of arching my back, I guess, in a way, as he was manipulating something in my neck. And I thought, yes, ballet. I mean, I just loved ballet. But then I forgot about it again. And so I had forgotten that I had loved to dance. And a couple of years ago, I had a message from none other than Roly Link, the first boy I danced with. And he asked me where I was living. And I said, well, I'm living in Sydney, in British Columbia. And he said, where in Sydney? And I said, well, I'm on 5th Street. And he said, well, I'm on 3rd Street. And he said that he'd been there for 13 years. Well, that was a shock. Anyway, we got together and talked, and I had gotten over my fierce shyness and introversion, and I don't know how the topic of dance came up. I don't think I said to him, "You're the first boy I ever danced with," but I might have. Anyway, he said, "The last time I saw you, we danced all night." He said, "We danced up a storm." And I said, "Oh, no, you must be thinking about somebody else. It wasn't me." And he said, "No." He said, "It was our high school reunion. We were at Heritage Park in Calgary. There was a barn dance." And he said, "You and I just started to dance, and that was it. We danced the night away until the band stopped playing." And I was just staring at him, and I thought, something wrong with his mind. I never did anything like that. Well, as all of these images were coming to me as I was coming out of that sleep state, dancing with Rolly at Heritage Park was definitely there. I saw the image. I can even describe what my hair looked like, what I was wearing. It was very, very vivid. And we indeed did dance up a storm, and we had a wonderful time. And so as I thought about this, I thought, what is this about? I mean, I haven't danced for 20 years. If anybody asks me if I want to dance, I just say, I don't dance, I can't dance, don't know how. And then I heard a British accent, a voice with a British accent in my ear. And I was about 16 years old, and I was at an event where there were ski racers from around the world there, and the British team was there. And one of the British skiers came up and invited me to dance. And I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't dance and I don't know how. And he said, no, no, come on, come on. Of course you can. Took me by the hand out onto the dance floor. And within 30 seconds, he said, you really can't dance. And that was the end of it. I was mortified. And I, as I thought about this on Saturday, I thought, this is absolutely fascinating because I had no memory of dancing and of having such a wonderful time. But what came back that has been haunting me all these years was the voice in my head, in my subconscious really, because I wasn't conscious of it. This voice saying, you really don't know how to dance. And when that came up, all of a sudden I thought, what is this about anyway? And I recognized that at certain points in our lives, if someone says something to us that is very negative and very hurtful or embarrassing, whatever it might be, that sticks with us unless we know how to clear it. And I realized that it had stuck in my subconscious all these years. And so my immediate response to somebody who would invite me to dance would be, I don't know how. And, please don't ask me, sort of just go away. When in fact, I had enjoyed many years of dancing before that. I know this sounds hard to believe, but the thing is, we really need to consider if there's something that we have an aversion to, what it's about. Is there fear around it? Is there embarrassment? Is there shame? What is it? And then sit with it, maybe take a nap like I did, and see what comes to you as you're waking up or as you're in your meditation. Because I think with many of the things that we deny in our lives that keep us from joy, that keep us from being infinitely happy, it's because of someone else's voice in our heads. And that voice becomes our own voice through our subconscious. So why am I even talking about this? Well, one, the title, I Hope You Dance. I needed to talk about something to do with dance. But also I realized that this was something that I really needed to deal with as all of these things came up. And so I'm wondering about you. Is there anything in your life that is holding you back from doing something that you really, really want to do, that you've perhaps always wanted to do? Is there anything that you may have buried something in your subconscious that keeps you from it, where you actually think you don't like something that you might have loved? It could be singing, it could be playing the piano, it could be bowling, it could be, riding a horse, it could be any number of things. These things that are in our subconscious we're simply not aware of until something starts, picking away at it. And that's really what was happening to me from Monday through until late Saturday, when I all of a sudden got it. And I was thinking of a Greek philosopher, and I really don't remember which one it was. I don't remember his name, but he basically said, a fool doesn't live, but is always getting ready to live. So what that means to me is the fool who is not living, but getting ready to live, is taking yet another class, is reading another self-help book, is seeing another therapist for another session, is taking a dance lesson, always preparing, but never absolutely engaging in and enjoying something. And I thought, there's so much wisdom in that statement. A fool doesn't live, but gets ready, is always getting ready, always preparing. Preparing for what? It's really important when we consider this, that there's so much life to be lived, and most of us anyway, want so much to be perfect at what we're doing, that we feel we have to get that from somebody else, that it isn't within us. And I was thinking how sad it would be at the end of my life to say, oh, I wish I'd danced. What if I had not had these memories conjured up again? What if I had not remembered the joy of what it's like to really dance? It truly made me think. And so, the flip side of that is, that we're here to fulfill a destiny. And I don't mean that, that we have this one destiny, like I'm supposed to be a dancer or something like that. but we're here to fulfill something, and whatever it is, to be the best that we can be. And it doesn't mean that we have to be perfect. It doesn't mean that we can't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that from time to time we might think we're really terrible at it. But what it means is that we are doing, we're not just sitting. We are actually taking charge. We are having the confidence to go forward with this. And I had other memories coming up. Another one was learning to ski. My husband had been an elite athlete. He was on the ski team. And for 13 years, I took ski lessons. And I just thought I was hopeless. But I kept going because we went skiing every weekend in the winter. And as I thought about that, I remembered that um, the instructors would always say, "Follow me down the hill, just follow me." And I would fall all over the hill while the instructor was skiing. And one cold winter in Banff, I decided to take a jazz dance class. And we used to meet at 8 o'clock in the morning to dance. And one morning I showed up, it was minus 35 degrees. I was the only one who showed up, and Hans Pomp, who was the teacher, said, "This is really good because you're having a lot of trouble with the steps. So today we can just work on them." And he said, "Follow me." We were in the middle of the room, and so we started the music. And when we stopped, my back was against the wall at the back of the room, and Hans was at the front of the room. And he looked at me and he said, "You have a kind of physical dyslexia." Um, and he said, "This is a really real thing." He said, you can't learn by following somebody. He said, "You have to learn in a different way." And it was like all of these light bulbs went off when I thought about all of the things that I couldn't learn by watching others do it, that I had to figure it out for myself. And when it warmed up just a little bit, I went skiing, and I didn't get a ski instructor. Instead, I simply closed my eyes at the top of the slope, and I thought about what it would feel like to make those turns, to go around those moguls. I mean, I certainly wasn't afraid of a ski hill. I'd been on them for a long time. And that for me was the secret. It was, I mean, I say it about so many things, that there's so many things where we have to apply our feeling nature to them. And for me, it was these physical things. And all of a sudden I was skiing and I became a good skier. And so I've been able to apply that to other things in my life that require some physical skills, uh, and mechanical things. You know, I can remember from time to time having to tune up the carburetor in my car. Well, for the life of me, I couldn't figure that out watching somebody else do it. But once I read about it and figured it out, it was just a simple thing to do. So, you know, it doesn't mean that if you can't do something, or if you don't think you can do something, that you've got a physical dyslexia. But many of us have a mental dyslexia, or mental dyslexia, I would call it, where our thoughts get in the way. We don't really believe that we are as brilliant as we truly are. And I don't mean to imply that I was a brilliant dancer, but I enjoyed dancing and it was a lot of fun. So I was trying to think of a metaphor for all of this. And last summer I did a wedding at Sydney Spit on Sydney Island, which is just across the way from where I live, across the water. And I was picked up on a motor launch, and as we were going over, I was looking at the wake behind the boat. And you know what it's like when you're on a motorboat of any kind. You see that wake at the back where the water is kind of churned up, and it forms a sort of a V pattern behind the boat. And I remember as I was watching that thinking, you know, the wake is not driving the boat. The motor is driving the boat. The the person at the wheel is driving the boat. The wake doesn't really have anything to do with that. It's what is left behind. And of course, the wake is always there. It's almost always the same size, but you can see the ripples just a little bit back, getting smaller and smaller, and just being absorbed by the ocean itself. And I thought, isn't this like life? We have this wake behind us that is yesterday, whatever happened yesterday, whatever somebody said to us, whatever, was occupying our minds, um, that's what's creating the wake. But things that have happened in our past, they were what dissolved into that vast ocean or that vast sea of God, that vast subconscious mind of ours. The things that we don't remember, the things that are the things that do come up from time to time, but the things that affect us in what might be called a serious way. And Ernest Holmes wrote, "Principle is not bound by precedent." What that basically means is that nothing in our past has to affect what's happening to us today. Can't blame our mothers, can't blame our brothers and sisters, can't blame our teachers. We all have a choice at every moment. And so as we look at yesterday's wake, we can just know that that is going to dissolve and have no effect on me at all. Or, hang on to it. Hang on to the grief, hang on to the sense of betrayal, hang on to the anger, whatever it happens to be, and we have to live with that. And life isn't as much fun when we're doing that. So what we really need to do is remember the truth of who we are. And I say this repeatedly, and every New Thought teacher will say the same thing, that we are spirit having a human experience. Spirit having a human experience. So what that means is, I am not this body. I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my breath. I often say when we're meditating, take a few deep breaths and allow yourself to relax with those deep breaths. And then I would ask you, who is it who is observing those breaths? And if you have thoughts going through your mind, who is it who is witnessing the thoughts? And if you have some discomfort in your body, who is it who is conscious of that pain or conscious of the discomfort in my body? If you ask yourself those questions, all of a sudden, what is revealed to you is that you're not any of those things, that you are the silent watcher, the silent listener. You are the magnificent soul, the magnificent spirit that uses this body, that uses the brain, that uses the mind, that uses the breath to maintain life. But you are not any of those things. You are above all those things. You are bigger than all of those things. You are a magnificent expression of God. I like to say we're all bits of God stuff. We're all born with that power within us. And so we have to understand that we're always at choice with whatever it is we're doing. We might say we're not. Oh, you don't understand. Well, yes, I do understand. And yes, we are always, always at choice about how we're going to allow ourselves to feel about anything. And so therein lies a problem and a solution. The solution is in the problem. And that is looking at what we feel to be our limitations, and asking ourselves where those feelings came from, where those thoughts came from. If you have to take a nap, take a nap. And if you have to do it 2 or 3 days in a row or for a month, do it. Because there's no point in allowing that wake to be attached to us, allowing ourselves to be limited beings when absolutely everything is possible. And we need to understand that we don't have to be perfect at anything that we do. I said that earlier. We don't have to be perfect. Isn't it just great to have fun out there, whatever it is we're doing, whether it's dancing, skiing, riding a horse, whatever it is we happen to be doing? Never mind whether you're the best at it or even if you're mediocre. It's how you feel. Have a good time. Don't allow the negative feelings to pop up. And if somebody says to you, boy, you really aren't very good at this, just say, but I'm having the time of my life. I'm having a really good time. I love doing this. And the chances are pretty good that you'll get better at it too. So I'm just asking everybody to think about that this week. What limitations do you feel you have, and what may have caused those things? And take some time. Take some time to be with them, and use your mind for success. Again, it's about it. We have to have a thought before we can have an emotion. And when we have an emotion, that's what is affecting our ability to manifest things. Good or bad. We can create a wonderful life for ourselves, or we can make it really nasty, depending upon the feelings that we allow ourselves to carry with us. So we need to clean those things up, and we need to understand that even things we consider to be impossible are possible. I was thinking of the wonderful minister who was at a church in Detroit many years ago, Jack Boland. Just a phenomenal speaker and interesting man. And I happened to accidentally um, go into a workshop, a weekend workshop, where he was speaking. He spoke on the Friday night, and he was so incredible that all of the other ministers there gave up their time to listen to him. And he spoke every day. Now, for a minister to give up his or her time speaking is a big deal. Most are not thrilled about doing that kind of thing. Anyway, Jack spoke, and when I left at the end of the workshop, I had sets of of audio cassettes at the time. I think there were a dozen cassettes in each set. They were boxed, and with my hands lowered, they came up to under my chin. And as I was leaving, Jack put his business card on top, and he said, "When you've listened to all of these, give me a call. I want to talk to you." Um, but anyway, one of the stories that he told, I don't know if it was there or if it was on one of his many cassettes, could have been probably on one of the cassettes. But he said that his church was organizing an exotic cruise. It was fairly expensive, and people were signing up for it. And there was a woman who lingered after church one Sunday, and she said, Jack, I really want to go on that cruise, but there's no way I can afford it. I just don't have the money. And he said, can you start thinking another thought about that? Can you start seeing yourself with the money? And she said, well, I don't have it. I don't know where it would come from. And Jack said to her, I believe that you can have the money to go on that cruise. And she smiled. She looked at him with a bit of a stretch, I guess. And she said, well, how can you do that? And he said, I just know that you can go. And so he said, do you believe that I believe that? And she thought about it, and she said, well, yeah, I believe that you believe it, but, I can't believe it. And he said, if you believe that I believe it, you're halfway there. I know this for you. I know that you will go on that cruise, and I want you to hold that in mind. Well, a few weeks later, she had all the money that she needed to go on the cruise, and she was absolutely thrilled by it. And she learned a really important lesson through that, as long as you're worried about where the money's coming from, or worried about how you're going to do something, you're living in a place of lack, and things are not going to get better until you start believing that it's possible. And so that's my challenge to everybody this week. Look at the things in your life that you felt were not possible, and start to consider that they are, and ask for images that will be important to you to take you through that process. This is the day, this is the time, this is your time, right here, right now, to make that decision, to feel hope and joy beyond measure, to know that you have within you this brilliant light. And don't bury it under a bushel, to use a biblical term. Instead, let yourself be a beacon of light to the entire universe. Wherever you go, there's that joy, that happiness, that I can do anything attitude about you. Because I know you can, and I believe you can. Do you believe that I believe it? If so, right here and right now, I want you to just get with it, and to understand consciously the gifts that you have been given by God. And as you're thinking about those things, and as you're being conscious about them, and as you're going forward into the next week and the next month and so on, I hope you'll dance. And so it is. Thanks for being here today. It's great to see you, great to have you here with me, and I look forward to meeting you in person soon. We do have protocols in place where we meet. The facility where we meet mandates that everyone must have proof of vaccination as they enter the building. So you will be asked to show that once as you come in, and then your name will be recorded, so you won't be hounded every week about it. But we would love to see you in person and to get to know you and to chat with you. And if you'd like to make a donation to our center, welcome to do that. We really appreciate it. It keeps everything running for us. You can make a donation by sending it by e-transfer to donate at cslvictoria.org, or you can go onto our website, www.cslvictoria.org, and there's a button there that says donate, and that allows you to donate by PayPal or by a credit card. So I invite you to do that, and just know that you are a blessing by being here. You are supportive by being here. And always remember that you are loved. You are loved by this infinite intelligence, this infinite power. And you are love itself. When you start peeling away the layers, you are love itself. I'm so grateful to know this in my life and to know this for you today. And so it is. Have a wonderful week.